Hi everyone, I'm Anas, also known as Warline. Welcome to my show. I want to introduce you to my show. If you don't know me, I've been doing a blog on Instagram and a Twitter for almost 5 years now, called Warline Comics, and I've been a co-host of a podcast called Geekable Podcast with one of my best friends, Nicholas Ritchie, and his other friend, Anas Abdul Haq. Yes, we have the same name. We bonded on that. We Lately we've had some ideas that we couldn't do on our main show with Geekable, with some scheduling conflicts and some other stuff that I get into in the episode. I decided that I'll be a regular on their show, Geekable, but as a guest, I'm not gonna appear as frequently as I used to, which has been like weekly for the past 2 years. Kinda. If you know the history of Geekable, you know it was a mess for a while. In this show, I'm gonna talk about comics, MCU, DCU, what I love about comics and comics adaptations in general. Like, I'm excited to have a lot of people on to talk about comics, including my co-hosts, Anas and Nick, and many other people. What you're about to listen to is an episode I recorded for Geekable Podcast, but because of some scheduling issues, we couldn't put out as a Geekable episode. So instead, we are gonna repurpose it to being Warline's podcast episode 0. Honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna call my podcast Warline. I think, I can take name suggestions down in the comments or in DMs. Welcome to give me some of them. Anyway, I hope that you all enjoy this show, this episode, and that you tune in for the upcoming stuff, because I have some cool stuff planned for the future that hopefully you'll get to see soon enough. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the geekest show in this reality, dedicated to hosting passionate people discussing our excitement for comics, both old and new, talking about what's hot in the industry, and of course, all things MCU DCU. We are the geekest show, Geekable Podcast. I'm Anas, also known as Warline, and I'll be hosting this mini episode talking about what I've been missing out on because I've not been on the podcast lately, talking about why I haven't been on the podcast, talking about Wonder Man, the latest news, and everything else exciting. So stay tuned, everyone. First thing first, the elephant in the room. I've been absent from the podcast for a few weeks now, almost a couple of months. And that's because of scheduling issues. I've been busy with work, and Ramadan Muslims are fasting Ramadan, so it's messing up my schedule a lot. Thank you for everyone who has been contacting us at Geekable or contacting me personally, asking about me. It means the world to us and to me specifically. But I'm here today. I'm not going anywhere. Things might change because the original co-host Anas is back, which is a great thing, honestly, because the way he loved the podcast, it was out of our hands, all of us. It was related to politics and other stuff that I can let Anas talk about someday else if he wants to. So we are glad to have him back. We are now 3 co-hosts, so we'll see how the podcast goes going forward. We are discussing things offline, like how to change the structure of the podcast so that we can all fit in the podcast, because, 40 minutes with 3 people talking is gonna be hard to do. I don't know if anyone has been doing podcasts, they can testify to that. That's why when we are 3, let's say me, Brett, and Nick are recording, it's usually a special episode. It's not a regular weekly episode. So yeah, that's what's been going on lately. And let's dive into some news, some MCU and DCU stuff. Kicking things off with the Lanterns trailer that was released last night by James Gunn. It was supposed to be released today, time of recording, but it got leaked, so James Gunn released it earlier, and it looks cool. If you have been loving the idea of the show, you will love the trailer. If you are not loving it, you will not love the trailer, because the problems that appear to be in the structure of the show are still persistent, and the good things about it are still persistent as well. So, like, Kyle Chandler maybe not sticking around as Hal, the idea that Jon Stewart is the main Green Lantern, and that DC is doing things a lot differently than the comics, sidelining the main Green Lantern. We will see how it goes, but I'm mostly excited, kinda conflicted, and I'll just wait and see how things are going for it. Shifting gears into some Marvel stuff, we have Wonder Man. I've watched it, and I've enjoyed it a lot. It's a different kind of show than the regular MCU shows or even Marvel and superhero shows in general, because it takes the concepts that we have seen in the Matt Reeves Penguin and the Joker movies and plays with the idea that this is a regular human in the Marvel universe. We're not really exploring the superhero shenanigans. He's not the type of guy who is like jumping into action, using his powers all the time. He's just a regular person afraid of his powers. We don't know where they came from. There's a lot of mutant metaphor present in the show, but without the X-Men, because you normally, when you see stories like that unfold in the comics or shows or any comics media related to Marvel, it's always with the X-Men involved, like the introduction of Jubilee in the X-Men animated series, or the recent introduction of Sunspot in X-Men 97. You have them saved by the X-Men and joining the team and all of the great adventures that came out from that stuff. But in this show, we don't get that. We just get the mutant who is afraid of the world. He just wants to be an actor, and the government doesn't want to leave him alone, which is interesting for Simon and for the mutants going forward. I also like the idea of the powers and where they come from. We don't know where they come from. And that ties into the mutant origins in the Marvel Universe and how conflicting it is. Because for the longest time, like since Stan Lee created them, they are just the natural evolution of a human being. But some iterations like the Ultimate Universe or even the Genosha mutates from the comics, they are experiments. People who get powers similar to Captain America or Hulk, they are called mutates. Marvel has been conflicting about whether mutates and mutants are the same thing, they are different things. You can read into it however you want because they don't know what to do with it. The basic example of that is Deadpool, and the most famous example, as he's technically a mutate, but sometimes they call him a mutant. No one knows anymore his origins. We also have the famous storyline that got adapted recently in X-Men 97, which is Ease for Extinction by Grant Morrison, which saw the death of 16 million mutants, when originally they were mutates. They were Genosha mutates experimented on, created by obscure villain called the Engineer, and the X-Men had to save them in Extinction Agenda, this really great crossover by Louis Simonson and Chris Claremont. And then they became Magneto's nation. Like Magneto took over Genosha, the nation, and he made the first mutant land with these mutates. And then they died in Ease for Extinction, and since then they have been retconned into being mutants. If you want to read a lot about mutates and mutants and how they came to be and the interesting ideas behind it, you can check out the crossover by Louis Simonson and Chris Claremont, Extinction Agenda. You can also explore the mutant massacre a little bit because we have the concept of the Morlocks, who are disfigured mutants, similar to Deadpool. Like they are mutants that cannot blend in as regular humans. They have physical, I don't want to say disabilities, but they don't look normal. So you can read that. There is an arc in X-Men Blue by Colin Bunn called Cry Havoc, if I remember correctly. That's another great one you can read. And you can also read the recent X-Force run by Ben Percy, because a huge chunk of that run has been about the Engineer and his experiments, the rise of the mutates. And it was an interesting idea, mutates versus mutants in the Krakoan era. It was a fun experiment by Ben Percy that sadly didn't develop it well enough, although he had 100 issues to do so. But yeah, it is what it is. Life went on, and the idea is still being followed up by Jed MacKay in his X-Men run. We have 3K, we have the Making More Mutants reveal that we got recently in X-Men, I think 25 and 24, like those two issues. It's fun stuff. Speaking of X-Men, let's jump into Shadows of Tomorrow really quickly. Shadows of Tomorrow is the new initiative of X-Men that kicked off after Age of Revelation. I've been enjoying it so far. I think it's way better than From the Ashes. It's nowhere near perfect, and I think that it still has a lot of problems, but it's interesting. It seems like the creators seem to know where they want to go, and I'm excited to see how things unfold in the future. Shifting gears to cosmic stuff, the Imperial Saga by Jonathan Hickman, Jed MacKay, Stephanie Phillips, Dan Abnett, Steve Fox. I'm probably forgetting another creator, as well as the pantheon of artists, of course. It sadly has been cancelled because Marvel messed up their marketing strategy. Quality-wise, Imperial has been one of the most well-done things at Marvel recently. We have talked a lot on the podcast about how Marvel recently hasn't had great success with quality, and Imperial was one of those sagas that had quality, similar to the Ultimate Universe, but we'll talk about that later. We had the Imperial series by Hickman and his co-writers writing the special one-shots. We had the ongoings, or what are essentially now miniseries launching from it, and everything was great. But Marvel took everyone, including the creators, by surprise when they decided to cancel the line because it didn't sell well, because Marvel frankly sucks at marketing. Here's the thing. What Marvel did that ruined Imperial from the beginning is that they didn't sell us the event the right way. So Imperial was 10 issues by Jonathan Hickman, and some of the issues were one-shots co-written by the writers of the ongoings. The one-shots were a part of the story, and if you get the trade paperback of Imperial that's coming out soon, it has the whole thing in chronological order because it's a one big story that leads into the ongoings. Marvel didn't market the event that way. So what ended up happening is that people bought the 4 main issues that are just written by Jonathan Hickman, and they did not care about the quote-unquote tie-ins, which weren't really tie-ins, they were part of the story. So what happened is that they ended up missing a huge chunk of the story. And that huge chunk was what's gonna lead to the ongoings. Like you had the She-Hulk one-shot that led to Stephanie Phillips's She-Hulk run, Black Panther, the one-shot that led into Victor Laval's Black Panther, and so on and so forth. Marvel didn't deliver on that the right way. We also have the idea that they took too long to put the titles out. So, like, we have The Exiles, which we don't know if it's coming out or not anymore, by Steve Fox, and we have Dan Abnett's Imperial Guardians, which is basically the new volume of Guardians of the Galaxy. And that got cancelled before it even got published. So we have 2 dead on arrival titles. Add that to the fact that Marvel's release of Imperial was iffy because, as I said, it was a 10-issue maxi series. It should have come out bi-monthly. What should have happened is that Marvel put out Imperial issues 1 through 10 bi-monthly, so that within 5 months, which is the span that Imperial took to come out, you got the whole event, you got everyone excited about it. But what ended up happening is that they put out issues 1 through 3 monthly, and then for the other 2 months, they put out the one-shots in weird order. They didn't market them at all. Then within those 2 months, of course, Imperial number 4 didn't come out because that's the end of this mini. So it had to wait until the saga finishes to come out. So the delay definitely didn't help. Like, I think the delay lasted 2 or 3 months. That's basically everything that has happened to the Imperial Saga and the Cosmic Saga, which sucks, honestly. Imperial Saga has been cursed since its initial inception back in 2018 or 2019 when Jonathan Hickman was planning it. Of course, it was a different time back then because we had Donny Cates and Al Ewing doing space stuff, and Jonathan Hickman was building in more space stuff in his X-Men run to lead into Imperial. Of course, it would have been different. It would have looked and sounded different than what we have got right now. But yeah, it is what it is. Life goes on. Hopefully we can get new ongoings soon or new directions for Cosmic Marvel. We have a lot of Spider-Man stuff to talk about. I'll try to go brief. The first things first, the Spider-Man, Venom, and Carnage crossover, the Spiral came out, or 2 issues of it came out. It's good so far. Not the best thing in the world, but definitely not the worst thing. Al Ewing, Joe Kelly, Charles Soule are writing the issue. It's fun to see how it goes. Of course, it has a high bar to reach because, we are comparing it to the original crossover between the 3 characters, and it's Maximum Carnage. I don't think that this event will go as near, like, to be as perfect as Absolute Carnage, Maximum Carnage, but let's see how things go. I'm excited to see what comes next. And what comes next, of course, is that this crossover, as well as the null miniseries that's coming out these days by Al Ewing and Tom Waltz, will lead into the Queen in Black event. I think we have heard Nick talk about the event a lot and he's excited about it, and I'm really happy for him, but I honestly don't know. It can be really good or really bad, especially because it has King in Black to compete with, which is a great Marvel event. I think it's one of the greatest Marvel events in the recent history. It also plays with synergy a bit, which can be a good thing or bad thing depending on the execution. And I don't know if the characters involved will be enough selling point for the event, which is what really matters. Because let's look at an event like One World Under Doom, for example. It didn't do well sales wise because no one knew the characters involved besides Doom. And for some reason, that didn't get people excited. I mean, Doctor Doom should get people excited, but that didn't happen. And against Doom, no one knew whether it's the Fantastic Four who are going on against him, the Avengers, everyone. You had a lot of different characters, like you had Madeline Pryor show up, you had Scarlet Witch, you had the Fantastic Four, obviously. But there was no core team, and that was one of the issues with One World Under Doom that sadly led into it underperforming. Shifting gears into what's probably gonna hurt my wallet the most this year, and it's the release of Wolverine, the game by Insomniac. We have an official release date. It's gonna be released by the end of the year, and I think that's gonna be around the same time when GTA 6 comes out. So as a gamer, that's the time to be alive. I love the GTA games. I've enjoyed the Insomniac games. I just love playing them. I played the Spider-Man games 1,000 times at this point. So I'm super excited to see what happens next. And it seems like the comics are trying to synergize with the Insomniac games a bit. Because if you have been reading Wolverine, all of a sudden Silver Sable is there, and Silver Sable hasn't been that big of a character unless you have been playing the Spider-Man games, the Insomniac ones, because she has been all over the games, whether physically appearing or influencing the universe because of the existence of her private militia. Yeah, that's another exciting thing that I cannot wait to experience. Although my wallet will disagree, but F my wallet. Speaking of Marvel events, we are currently experiencing the prelude to Marvel's Armageddon, the new crossover by Chip Zdarsky, which has been built so far to be so good because since One World Under Doom ended, Chip Zdarsky and his collaborators, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Ben Percy, Ryan North, and others have been paving the road to Armageddon really well. We have Philip Kennedy Johnson and Ben Percy on the Dungeons of Doom miniseries. We have the Will of Doom one-shots by the three writers. And we have Wolverine Armageddon, as well as Captain America by Chip Zdarsky coming to... We're gonna also have Avengers by Chip Zdarsky, a 4-issue miniseries, which I definitely believe is gonna lead into Chip Zdarsky writing Avengers after the event, but let's see how that goes. I think it's exciting because this is the first time in a long while that I've been excited about a Marvel event, and I feel that Marvel has a direction again. The last time I felt that was around 2018 to 2020 when Donny Cates was writing most of the stuff and everyone else was like tying into Donny Cates' work. At the same time, you had Hickman and the Krakoan Age. They were kind of tied together. So there was a big picture at Marvel, which they had lacked over the past few years, and it's slowly being built up. I'm loving that. And it's being built up by a lot of great creators they've got, as we have discussed on the show before. We have Iron Man kicking off with 2 really, really great issues by Josh Williamson and Carmen Carnero. Philip Kennedy Johnson continues to write a great Hulk story. Avengers just ended, and I'm excited to see how it goes for the Avengers next. We have Captain America by Chip Zdarsky. It's really good. Immortal Thor just got rebooted, and it's been fun. So everything seems spun on the Avengers side. If you're a fan of the Avengers, this is your time to experience them again, to be excited about them again, because they are in a really, really decent space, and they hopefully are gonna be in better places within the next 4 months. The last few points I have here are Daredevil's trailer that came out. It looks fantastic. I'm excited to see what they do with the character and the Netflix characters as a whole. It seems like Finn Jones is gonna come back as Iron Fist in some capacity. We know that Luke Cage's actor has been talking to Marvel. Jessica Jones is back, so it's an exciting time if you're a fan of the Netflix shows. We also have the Punisher special coming out, as well as Spider-Man Brand New Day with the Hulk, Spider-Man, and Punisher, and maybe more characters, who knows. It's a fun ride to experience, and hopefully we can get a trailer for Spider-Man soon, because this movie is gonna be out in no time, and Marvel hasn't released anything about it yet, which is weird. Speaking of Spider-Man, we also have the recent announcement that Jonathan Hickman is gonna do a miniseries, an out of continuity Spider-Man miniseries starring Spider-Man, the Punisher, and Hulk to synergize with the movie. That's cool. Let's see how it goes. I'm excited. Shifting into DC stuff really quickly. DC has been doing a great job. I'm loving everything they have been doing. We've got the end of the DC KO event, and we are in DC Next Level right now. We've got glimpses of the new titles coming out from DC Next Level. They seem exciting. I can't wait to talk about them with Nick and Anas and our guests that are gonna join us in the fun ride that's 2026's Geekable podcast. I think we've reached the conclusion of this episode. I hope that everyone has enjoyed me rambling on my own today. You can follow us at Geekable Podcast on Instagram. We also have a Blue Sky. We have Twitter. You can follow me on Warline Comics. You can follow Anas and Nick on Instagram. And we can't wait to hear from you, everything you to talk about when it comes to the comics, news, MCU, feedback about the show. We're interested to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for tuning in as always. If you're a new listener, it's great to have you on and welcome. And this is me, Warline Comics, signing off. Bye-bye.